if we think about this airplane and the technology is the engine, the temptation is always to go to the technology first. Why do I even need an airplane? Before I go buy an engine, why would I need an airplane? And that the reason we want an airplane is because we want to go someplace else. And for us, this is not a physical location. This someplace else is a place of better performance. And your business objectives will tell you what that better performance looks like. So whatever are the business objectives, that's how you can define this place of better performance. And so before we think about an engine, thinking about our ability to guide this plane and actually get it to this place of better performance, I think drives us to say, let's look at the processes first, which is in the Redmond and Davenport model or framework, that is what they call the guidance system, and it's the processes within the company. So when I think about this guide system, I think the mindset that could help companies as they're thinking about this transformation is the mindset is that we need more than just a clear vision. You know, we need to be defining the process that's going to deliver the outcomes that are needed all along your flight plan, if you will, so you have some confidence that you're making progress toward getting to this place of better performance. Why would I want to buy an engine if I don't have enough fuel to actually, for the engine to actually deliver me to this place of better performance? And as following the Redmond and the Davenport model, the fuel that we need is actually the data that is in our organizations. And it's become quite fashionable, I think, these days to talk about data is an asset. And we understand that much better in the digital world we live in, just in our everyday lives. So I think one of the best ways to understand that is to think about what are a company's other assets and how are they managed? So for example, another asset of a company is its monies. It's money, and all companies have a financial organization that establishes a framework and standards to ensure that money is protected and deployed so it delivers the greatest value to its shareholders and it stays in compliance with regulatory requirements. You need to have this central overarching function or team or some entity that is responsible for standards around data and some of the processes or that make up a framework for what is needed to actually manage that. And in addition, there are individual roles and responsibilities within a company that are required if indeed that data is going to be treated as a valued asset. The third piece of this airplane's capability, if you will, is the landing gear. And I don't think we need to talk a lot about that. It would be great for you to get in the air, 30,000 feet above your place of better performance. But ultimately, the landing is where you have the opportunity to actually capture this value and deliver and actually create this place of better performance. It's the landing gear is your change capability. And I think to really simplify this, I heard a construction worker one time make this statement, and I thought it was very profound. And he said, "Nothing changes if nothing changes." So in summary, what he was saying is, don't expect a change in your performance, a change in your results, if what people are doing every day isn't changing. Organizations don't change. People in the organization change. And when enough people have changed, then the organization will have changed. It's really important to not just focus on the organization and the alignment, but to really reserve some resources to actually deal with individual people who will make the difference on whether or not the organization changes or not. So that kind of wraps up. I'm not going to talk about technology. I don't think I need to. I think most of us spend a lot of time on technology. But I do think what we need to remember is that when we're buying technology, to remember we are not buying that ideal state, that state of better performance. We are buying something that we need all of these other components as this part of the plane to get us to that point. And it's a little like we wouldn't buy the golf clubs that Tiger Woods uses and thinks that we can go out and shoot par on the golf course. We know that there would have to be training, that there's conditioning, there's practice to get there. And so part of what I think we need to do is keep that vision very clearly in mind, but also be able to track our progress along the way and to celebrate the progress that we make in getting toward that place of better performance. The single most important component that I have seen to really get value from technology is people. When they are enabled with this technology and empowered, if you will, I think they can go beyond what the expectations are that we have. But I do think it is critical. We so often think about people and change, and we say, well, there's just people that aren't going to change. And I would just offer to you that before we decide that is to look at those three motivators, if you will. Do they not feel like it's a big enough reward to make that change? Do they feel like they don't know how? Or do they feel like even if they know how, they can't actually make it happen? And I will tell you, I found that very successful in having conversations with people to really understand what keeps them from not moving, if you will. I actually think there may be a fifth component to Redmond and Davenport, if I could be so bold and arrogant, that has to do, I think there's something called the air traffic controllers, if you will. And that is your governance. And that is your senior leadership.
But I thought I'd summarize very quickly that we need everything. We need all of these pieces to make something work. It's not just one thing. So the engine or technology is the tool. It's not the answer, right? And you still have to have a flight plan or the process system to fly the plane and measurements in place to ensure that that safe flight, that flight is safe and heading in the right direction. You have to have fuel, and in this case, data, to ensure that you can actually move forward and that your measurements are correct and accurate. The fuel is good, so to speak, right? The data is good. It's not mixed with bad things like water or sugar, right? And your landing gear, your change management, engaging people and helping them through the change is key. That's what makes everything work and the journey successful. Everyone's bought in, part of the journey. And then to your point, the air traffic controller to give that guidance, right? And make sure everyone is on track. Yeah. So I think that is a great analogy. And I think the important piece here, right, is that they all have to be there. You can't just have the tool. You can't just pick it off the shelf and say, we're ready to go because we installed it, we implemented it. Really appreciate everyone coming out. Thank you so much. Any feedback you have for us, please send it through. If you have additional questions for Joanne, send those through as well. I'm sure we can get some answers for you. And thank you so much for coming along and being a part of this with us.